Oh my gosh, guys, it's happening. Pyro is in the PTU. It's a very first playtest that just lasted for a couple of hours, nevertheless, but still, to my knowledge at least, it is the very first time that people who are not developers at Cloud Deeper Games were able to play in the Pyro system. Now, this was a short test, unfortunately, which only lasted for a couple of hours. Apparently, I was told that it lasted for about 6 hours, so it's not really like, it was not an opportunity to try all of the features of the Pyro system, but more of a first test to see if it was working, more of a preparation test for the future release that will be at least in the preview server. So, there are still obviously a couple of known issues that is to be expected. We're not going to be talking about that. We're instead going to go over some of the details of the Pyro system. According to, again, these are rumors, take everything with a pinch of salt. I am not an Evocati member, so I am not bound to the NDA, but at the same time, I cannot verify those informations myself, so take everything with a grain of salt. So, as I said, it is not a preview channel, so they're not testing the replication layer here. Instead, they're really testing some of the core features of the Pyro system, including stations as well as a few planets too. So here we're talking about 10 active stations with people inside and 16 abandoned sections. So it seems like Pyro is far more populated and far more active than one might have thought. And we also have the name of some of these stations. We have Checkmate, Obratory, Starlight Service Stations, Patch City, Gaslights, Rolls, Fuel and Supplies, Rat's Nest, Endgame, Dudley and Daughters, and Megumi Refueling. It seems that some of these stations sound like they could be a little bit more legit than others. Other stations sound like they're definitely layers for criminals, but again, that's what you would be expecting from the Pyro system. Note that apparently in the patch that the Evocatis were testing, Ruin Station, which is like the big mother of all stations of the Pyro system, is not in the game. My guess is that they probably want to keep the surprise for when the Pyro system will be officially released rather than having those tests, which makes sense because obviously leaks do happen. I'm not going to be leaking any pictures or whatever. I haven't seen any anyway. These are just rumors that are being reported to me. But yeah, I can confirm, apparently, according to the sources that we have, that Rune Station is not in the patch. But we do have the names of the planets and moons as well as some of their description. Pyro 1 is just Pyro 1. Apparently, it is said to be very close to the red star of the system with high temperatures as well as a high pressure. This is probably going to be some sort of hell over there. I would be quite surprised if the Pyro crab ends up surviving there. Pyro 2 here, which is the coreless world of the Pyro system, is called Monox, and apparently it's named after carbon monoxide, which is in the atmosphere. It's a part oxygen, part carbon monoxide, so obviously not a breathable atmosphere. There apparently lots of scars of old mining operations, as the lore suggested. The real deal is probably going to be Pyro 3, which is also called Bloom, and it's a sort of icy terrestrial world which has a breathable atmosphere made of nitrogen and oxygen, just like on Earth here. But because it's breathable, it's a nice place to live. Obviously, it's been overrun by outlaws, and that's something that we should be expected. That's something that they talked about a lot in CitizenCon, so we're probably going to have a lot of raids there between the local people who are just normal people trying to live their lives and the outlaws who've also settled the planet. Pyro 4 here is said to be not too far from Pyro 5, so now it orbits actually Pyro 5, so we also know that. So it's cool to see that giant, that gas giant in the skies of Pyro 4, which here the gas giant Pyro 5 is quite different compared to Crusader, with shades of green and yellow compared to white and pink of Crusader. Pyro 5 has quite a few moons here. We're talking about 6 moons, including Ignis, which is the innermost moon of Pyro 5, with a lot of canyons and dried riverbeds, but no signs of water there, unfortunately. Vatra is the second moon of Pyro 5, with a lot of pressure there, and it's a mix of nitrogen and methane, so you should expect it to be non-breathable and quite cool. Supposed to have a dark and eerie landscape. I wouldn't be surprised if this moon is similar to Aberdeen around Hurston, in terms of looks at least. Adir, Pyro 5C, has a lot of craters there, and has a lot of also rocky hills and jagged mountains. I think that this one's probably going to look a lot like Selene. Pyro here apparently has an earthquake which caused spectacular waves in its brackish sea, so it has some kind of liquids here, and apparently, well, you know, it's possible to have those waves because the water technology is going to be quite fantastic according to what we saw in CitizenCon. But I wonder how they are going to be making those earthquakes. No details of that. All of this is just the lore. Fuego here has lots of iron sulfide in the soil, and it looks yellow blackish from space, a little bit similar to Io in our very own solar system. And Ver is rich in carbon and nothing else, versus Pyro 6, the last planet of the system, is called Terminus, and this proto-planet apparently suffers little damage from Pyro's distant star because it's so far away. It's also very cold. It's also where Rune Station is orbiting. Now, we also have some information regarding the factions of the Pyro system, and apparently there are going to be two main gangs as well as one lawful gang, I suppose. And of course this does not include Xenothreat, which is more located around Rune Station. But we're going to start with the one that's lawful here, which is called Citizens for Pyro. And apparently this is a group of concerned civilians who have taken it upon themselves to tame the infamous outlaw system once and for all. They started as a small posse, making occasional forays into Pyro to hunt down criminals, and they have grown into a full resettlement plan. Working closely with local residents, the group provides protection and logistical support to the survivors who call Pyro home. Apparently, they are located in Lorville-Hurston, so that's actually a gang or a group, a faction that's going to be located in both Pyro and Stanton at the same time. They have a leader called Madge-Harford, and their name inside the game is going to be called Citizens for Pyro. Next, they have the Headhunters here, which is one of the oldest gangs in the Pyro system, and they have earned themselves a reputation for being ruthless and respected. Unlike many outlaws, when the Headhunters strike a deal, they are known for keeping their words. So actually, some kind of a honest type of criminals, I suppose, especially if they promise to kill someone. They are currently seeking to wrest control of Rune Station away from Xenothreat. That's going to be interesting. Of course, the fight for the control of Rune Station, I believe, is also going to be a staple of what we are going to be doing in the future in the Pyro system. Now, the last of these gangs is called the Rough and Ready here, and so in the play of the most popular rest and relax stations found throughout the UEE, this gang has established itself by running the largest fuel operation in Pyro. While their prices may not be fair, at least you can count on them for having fuel and services on offer. Individuals who cross them often find life in Pyro much harder than it already was. So seems like they are taking advantage of the difficult situation of the Pyro system and charging ridiculous amounts of money for fuel, and seems you don't really have a choice because, well, you don't really have a lot of rest stops to refuel in the Pyro system. Then you're gonna have no other choice but to pay them. I like the idea, and if you don't like it, maybe have some friends who have a starter. Maybe that could be a good idea. Now, remember, this is just a very first iterations for players, or at least EvoCaddy players, to test the basics of the Pyro system. The full Pyro system is not featured in this patch. That's why they don't have a lot of locations right now. Only apparently Pyro 1, 2, and 3 have outposts on them, and even if they do have outposts, it's between 1 to 5 on each planet at the same time. It's also not really a surprise because, well, as I said earlier, the replication is not there. We don't have any server meshing, obviously, so they don't want to cause too many 30k errors. They really want the EvoCaddy to try what's available there in the best conditions possible, so that's probably the reason. So there we have it, guys. That is, again, these are rumors from EvoCaddies who are spreading the word on various internet media, Discord, Reddit. It's unfortunately made public, so it's very easy to find this information. Like I said, I am not an EvoCaddy. I did not test it out myself or say it by myself, so it could be very well wrong or not exactly as I said. So as I said, take everything with a grain of salt. With that comes the end of this video. Thank you so much to Dr. Farbin, Deplorable Infidel, and Zero Crusher. If you want to support the channel on Patreon or via the YouTube Join membership program, the link is in the description down below. It really helps a lot. I have been Irad, and I will see you guys in the next one.